Do you believe in ghosts?
No, absolutely not.
Sure. So like an absolute hell yeah, or just like sure?
There's a possibility that they're out there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
No.
I do.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Sure.
I don't know.
Of course. Why? Because just firsthand experience here, we had a ghost show up when we first opened up 23 years ago and left 7 footprints on our floor just after we sanded it. That happened overnight.
Have you had any more experiences like that? Or?
No. We have, I'll be sitting downstairs in my office, and I always feel like there's somebody there with me.
So a little bit of a daunting feeling there.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Okay.
Yes, yep, I'm the campus chair.
What is your opinion on ghosts?
So I feel a little silly about this. I would say I don't believe in ghosts. I'd also say I haven't really thought too much about it. It's never been I feel like there are some that are really interested in that or have thought a lot about, and I haven't. So first brushes at that question, in general, I would say it's not something I believe exists.
Would you consider yourself a skeptic then?
Sure.
Would you think that there's a possibility of ghosts?
So I think there are very few things that I would say are impossible. So I couldn't rule ghosts out entirely.
I think about it as like a comfort level, yeah,
But not as like a real to town thing.
but yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Well, thank you. Thank you.
So, religious perspective. I guess I should ask, what religion do you affiliate with?
Sure. So I am a Christian, ordained in the Reformed Church in America. So Protestant Reformed tradition is where I find myself.
So you have to believe in heaven and hell and so on, yes.
At least some versions of that, yes.
Absolutely, yeah. I know Catholics believe in this idea of purgatory. Do you have any opinions on that? Belief, disbelief?
Yeah, purgatory is not something that falls in my belief system, or doesn't exist in my belief system. So that I don't know if that would be more likely to be more of something that's ghost-like, but purgatory isn't something that exists.
So when people die, I guess, what is your first thought? Like, where do the spirits go?
Sure, absolutely. This is really fun. So I have and perhaps a little bit of a different view of what heaven and hell looks like necessarily in those two, in that dichotomy. What I believe in general about the way that God operates is a lot bigger than we tend to think about. So it's really easy for human beings to think in that this way or that way type of mentality. And I think God's probably a lot broader than that, because if I can tend to believe that if I can fully understand it, there's probably more to it than that, right? Because I think there's a lot that we're just not created to understand. So I do believe that God has created space for people to return to God. I don't know what that looks like. I have, thoughts about what I guess I might hope it looks like. I know Christians tend to think about that if you have followed God and if you have, been a good person and done all the right things and all of that, then you go to heaven. And if you haven't done all the right things, then you'll go to hell. I don't believe God works with a checklist necessarily. So, it's easy for us to say, like, well, you have to do all these things to go to heaven, and if you don't, you'll go to hell. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me necessarily. So, I don't have a real clear picture. I think what I trust in, what I hope in, is that God is more expansive than I can understand. that God is more inclusive than I can understand or than I can paint a picture for.
So you believe in ghosts, but you don't. No. Are you guys together?
Yeah.
Interesting. All right.
Never had to stop before.
It's a big fun time. So why do you believe in that?
I just think that it's a weird thing to just believe that nothing happens after you die. And I've heard some theories about matter transfer that I'm not an expert on and cannot speak on. But I just think that there's too many coincidences that happen where you hear about the stories, you see those weird little things that happen. I think not every case ends up with someone being a ghost, but I think it happens.
You don't believe it.
Don't, no. Why is that? I feel like, similar to what you said, but on the opposite side, I think all of the, strange coincidences and things, that is human greed a lot of times. People try to capitalize on these, like, oh, I saw, like, it's kind of like Bigfoot, people in fursuits kind of things, making things happen, but no, I just don't think there's enough evidence, or that I've encountered at least, to see, and, I have some religious leanings from my youth where, like, when we die, we go somewhere and something happens to us. It's not just stays here.
So you automatically assume, though, that ghosts haunt people, or they
Just exist, like, yeah, they don't necessarily have to haunt people if they existed, but yeah, just that they exist.
Do you have any religious affiliations then?
I was raised non-denominational Christian, but as I grew older, I started to move away from religious affiliation.
Do you believe in crystal shops? Do you believe in all the auras and so on?
Not really. I've never tried it, but I suppose if I did and I saw some benefit, I can't fault it fast.
Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. With that inclusion, I guess, would you believe that there's, some sort of middle ground area that not everyone can fit into?
I don't believe that. It would make more sense to me that God has space to redeem anyone. That if God is as powerful and almighty as we say and believe, that God's powerful enough to redeem any person or any situation. That being said, I don't know what that means. I don't know how that happens. You can think about awful, terrible things that are done. And that's why I'm not God, because I can't understand that.
Absolutely. So my next question would be, for those people who do believe in ghosts and will swear to it to their grave, like visual apparitions and so on, what is your opinion on their situations, what they believe, what they've seen?
Absolutely. To be honest, I love to hear about the things that people have experienced and believe so deeply, right? Especially if they've had, whether it's a physical experience, a visual experience, something like that. I do tend to believe that God speaks to us in all kinds of ways, that the Spirit moves in ways that we don't understand or can't, not the same way to every person, right? That God would speak to you differently than God would speak to me. And that's a part of the diversity that God has created us in. So I wouldn't really discount if somebody has had that experience or that belief, because just because I haven't had it doesn't mean it's not real, doesn't mean it doesn't exist. I think that's, like I said, the this way or that way mentality doesn't make sense to me in the creativity that I believe that God has created us in.
With regards to negative experiences, though, do you believe that would be from God, which most people would probably not assume?
Sure.
Or would it be from what others believe to be Satan?
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, I think if someone has had experiences, again, whether it's physical or visual experiences with something like a ghost or a spirit or something like that, I think I could understand it being something that whether they understand it being from Satan or whether it being the sinfulness of our world, the fallenness of our world, and the ways that honestly sometimes are not their mind getting the better of them, but the way that our minds do fall into sin in certain ways, or are open to messages that are negative and can create and manifest in really scary, terrible ways. It would make sense to me that could be a piece of our fallen nature, a piece of our sinfulness. Not saying that person is so sinful and now they're experiencing all these terrible things, but whether that is the enemy attacking them, I can see that being real.
Awesome. I think that's all the questions I have. So thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you asked.
Thank you.